This episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy was recorded and produced during the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strikes. Without the labor of the actors currently on strike, the stories being covered here wouldn't exist. Thank you, and enjoy this episode of In a Galaxy.
Hello there.
Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
And today we have a very, very, very special episode. We just finished watching through Jedi Fallen Order. We watched the Gamers Little Playground cutscene montage, all 3 hours of their Jedi Fallen Order cutscene montage. And we have here today, I'm so excited for this. This is our first ever guest retrospective episode 115 of In a Galaxy, I believe this is. The end of season 14. We have two guests here, and when I think of Jedi Fallen Order, I think of these two guys right here. They are the two most prolific fans that I know of this game on the internet. Jacob, do you have anything else to say before we bring them on to talk about this great game?
I'm so excited that they're here to help us break it all down, sum it up, round it up, and finish out our experience of Jedi Fallen Order.
Absolutely. First, let's get to a man who has played this game over 20 times through, and that is not an exaggeration. I believe you can tell me the number when he comes in. I think it's 23, 24. He is the host of the Nerd Academy podcast for the Republic podcast. It is good friend of the show, my partner in crime for Epic Confrontations, Conor Cicchitti.
Hello, sir. Yeah, if I'm being honest, I can't remember how many times. I think it's close to 30, but I could be wrong. I think I've played it close to 30 times. I don't know.
Wildly impressive. That is wildly impressive. I don't even know how I could possibly get close.
Let me check real quick because I think I've made some record of it.
You've made the record of how much you've played it. This is also, by the way, the guy who has
from what I can remember.
Who this was something that happened about a year ago. It was just Connor and I sitting on a call in Discord, and he was watching me go through hours of footage for this game to specifically get a clip of Cal saying, "I need a stim BD" in those exact words. Hours on end. I was like searching through hours of footage just to find that one clip because it is spectacular. And the second person is, if you don't know who this person is, get out now. It is Alex Damon of Star Wars Explained.
Hey, I think I've only played it like 4 times. So I was actually just pulling up my EA account to see if I could find how many hours I had in the game, because I'm curious how many hours.
No, I played it a similar amount of times to you, Alex. Connor, it's not that you're abnormal, it's that Connor is the abnormal one in this situation.
I'm aware. I'm still impressed.
Yeah, no, it kind of helped that it came out and then COVID unfortunately happened, so I didn't really have much to do. So it basically became like the game I always went to.
I was thinking earlier today about the time it came out, because that time, say what you will about like the specific media that we got during that time and your thoughts about it, but like that time with Rise, with Mando Season 1, and with Fallen Order all in the span of basically 3 months was like, it was a magical time for me. Like it felt like Star Wars was getting like revitalized in a way we hadn't seen, like even with The Force Awakens, in a long time.
I agree. I remember that lead up and just how much fun it was.
It was, and specifically, I'm now thinking of, like, I feel like this was around 2020. Alex, you made a video series about like the phase 1 of Disney Star Wars, and it's funny how like Star Wars works now, because even though this was the end of phase 1 of Star Wars, all 3, I would argue, are now now either have a sequel or are getting one very soon. We had Survivor, obviously, for JFO. We had the season of The Mandalorian a year after. and then we have New Jedi Order along the way. So, which is obviously like a sequel to the entire trilogy, but since Rise is where we left them, it's just so crazy to see all of those things already getting followed up on, or already have been followed up on.
I have a question for Connor real quick, to go back to your multiple, like 30 times of playthrough. When you play it now, how long does it take to beat the game? How quick?
That is a good question.
That's okay. So that's a really good question, because I haven't gone through a Fallen Order playthrough in like a good while, ever since Survivor came out, and just ever since like life kind of became more at the forefront for me. I haven't really gone through Fallen Order in a good while, so I don't know. And the thing with Fallen Order for me is that like I have to pace myself. Like I don't think I could do like one of those like stay up all night for 7-8 hours and just blitz through the game. Could I? Probably, if I really, really set my mind to it. But it's not worth it.
You can't do it, Jared. You cannot do it, Jared.
No, I can't pull a Jared. No.
And stay up. That man probably stayed up like 40 hours in a row when Survivor came out, from what I've heard.
Well, and the funny thing is with Survivor, I haven't even beaten it twice yet.
Wait, I've played more Survivor than you have, Connor?
But also it's the fact that like Fallen Order was very linear-ish, and Survivor is
Survivor's just a complete
massive.
It's just like yes,
so much to do. Thank God for New Game Plus, though. Thank God, because I am not recollecting any of this stuff.
Oh
Agreed.
Yeah, no,
never again.
The collectible stuff, like honestly, we didn't mention it a lot, of course, because it wasn't like very integral to the cutscenes. But like, I never bother with the collectible stuff. That's not like the kind of I'm a very linear gamer. I beat the game. I want to experience the story for myself. If I want to, I'll go on a side quest or two, maybe. But like, other than that, I'm really just like, let's get through this goddamn story as quick as I can. I also just, for me, like any repetition of like something like too close to each other, like I feel like I don't have the entire script of Bombad Jedi memorized in my brain, but like, but that specific episode of the Clone Wars, I feel like I've watched so many times now that it's just kind of embedded in me, and I started to feel that right after like I was getting into my third playthrough of Survivor, where I remember there was this one line that one of his crew says to him at the beginning of the game about needing some of that Jedi torque. I'm like, that line started to sound to me like, you know, when you say a word over and over again and it starts to sound weird to you, like that's what it sounded like to me. And I was just wondering, like you, Connor, you've played this over 30 times, and it's still like, I don't want to speak for you or anything, it still seems like your favorite Star Wars anything, which is a testament to anything else.
It's pretty, it's pretty close up there. I'd say my other favorite Star Wars story would probably be the Phase 1 High Republic main comic, starring my favorite Star Wars character as of now, Keeve Trennis, Jedi Master Keeve Trennis now. But yeah, Fallen Order for the longest time. I heard
there's a tragedy upcoming with her. I might be hearing stuff.
Yeah, hopefully not in the way, more in the like, I'm just gonna dip from the Order way. So yeah, that's all I really hope for. Kevin's gonna deliver. Kevin Scott will deliver on that front. It's gonna hurt, but it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, even if she lives, it's gonna be sad.
Oh, it's gonna be super sad. I feel like it's gonna be even more. It's gonna be sadder if she lives, because like death is like a fairly easy way out. I would say for some people.
Remember
Kevin would still make it hurt. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I was about to say,
the Grand Inquisitor would like to. He'd like to argue that statement.
Also, Loden Greatstorm would itself.
Yeah. R.I.P. Loden.
Yeah, that argument is just so like it's all in the past now. It's dust in the wind.
Oh.
Heyo.
I might leave after that, man. Son of a bitch. I haven't even read much of Phase 2 just because I have just been so busy, and Phase 2 just didn't really grab me. There are a few characters that really cool. But also, it doesn't help that like I can't find the ebooks for any of them on the library app, which sucks. And I can't do audio.
Take some time to come in.
Yeah,
they do take some time to come in.
But anyway, Fallen Order.
Yes.
So with Fallen Order, I have to talk about. I got to pull it up. I have to talk about with the story of the game for me. I have to really just talk about like just back in June 2018 or so when we first heard about it.
Oh no, never mind. I don't know what you're pulling up with this. I thought for a second I knew. I thought you were gonna pull up. I thought you were pulling up your interview with Matt. For a second.
No. Okay. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we will get to that. We will link that down in the description. Connor did an interview with one of the writers of this game, Matt Michnovitz, who is also, of course, a writer on the staff of the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, The Bad Batch,
and Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, and Survivor.
Yep. Yeah, so it was.
Did he?
It was pretty cool.
Am I remembering correctly that he didn't play as big of a role on Survivor as Fallen Order? Or am I?
He wasn't like the lead writer, quote unquote. The lead writer was Danny Homan, but like he was on the team. I don't know. I don't know how big his role was.
Yeah.
But yeah.
While Connor's pulling that up,
I have it.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
So June 2018, we get the sort of anticlimactic reveal at some game awards show or some game conference show.
I think it was EA Play that they were just like, the title is Fallen Order.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, this is the title. That's about it. It was very underwhelming. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's cool. But then a little blurb came out from the website, and I'll just read it. It's like 2 sentences. From Respawn Entertainment comes a brand new action-adventure game which tells an original Star Wars story around a surviving Padawan set shortly after the events of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I don't know what it was, but I read that, and I was just instantly hooked. I've never been hooked faster on just a very shallow premise for a Star Wars story than that. That was the day it all began. And so I basically, for the longest time, up until like April 2019 with Star Wars Celebration Chicago, when we found out more about the game, I poured over almost every rumor, detail, bit of news that we could find. The lead up to Fallen Order and its release was probably the most unique experience that I've had as a Star Wars fan, and nothing's going to ever come close to it. And I think that factors into why I love this game so much, because I was in my seat.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I do want to ask, did you know at this point, during the lead up, during the rollout, during the announcements, did you know that you were going to be a Fallen Order super fan? Like, what was it about the game that really drew you in, or was it once you played it that you really fell in love with it?
So what really drew me into the game was the fact that it was set in this dark times. And the dark times at this point, I think, was one of my favorite eras. And then like getting Fallen Order into that piece of the pie for it and really solidifying the whole era around it.
It's an insanely compelling time. Yeah.
It just made it super compelling for me. But oh wow, what was it? Oh yeah, so I'm in my senior year of college, not really doing too much. So like because of that, I have all this time to really focus on it. And it was the fact that it's set after Revenge of the Sith. You're a brand new character, which has its own narrative decisions to make of like, oh, is he gonna die? And my whole thing was, he's probably gonna die. Like he probably is. There's no fucking way he's gonna live.
I will say that Star Wars has had a great track record in the last like 10 years. Us fans saying this character is going to die, and then Star Wars being like, nope, you're wrong.
Yep. And so when Celebration happened and we found out more about Cal Kestis and just the whole entire set-in and some of the gameplay, the gameplay footage where you're on the first trip to Kashyyyk. That is the most nostalgic I've ever felt for any section of a video game ever. Like every time, I'm not even kidding you, Jacob. Every single time we get to that point on Zepho where Eno Cordova was like, "Oh, I've met Tarful, and we got to go to Kashyyyk." In that little hollow projection. Yeah. I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's go!" Like every single time, I just get so hyped up for that because of that gameplay footage that they showed us, where it was like first 15 minutes, and then it was extended with the walker. Every time, I get so hyped. I get so nostalgic. I don't know what it was. I watched that gameplay so much, even to this day. And it's funny too, with that gameplay, I didn't realize it until like Stigas Musin brought it up that like the lightsaber blade didn't have a white core to it. I just took the whole blue blade at face value. And I didn't even understand the uproar. And I was like, oh, I get it now. That makes sense.
Like the practice blades in Rebels at the end of season 2.
Yep. And so, when that happened and we find out more about Trilla and just all the other enemies and sort of things that we're facing, my hype just started to increase. And one of my favorite trailers, and I got hyped for the trailers. I got fucking hyped for the trailers. Like these are like trailers that now I'm like, oh yeah, every video game does these types of trailers where it was like gameplay trailer, story trailer, another gameplay / story trailer. I've never been more hyped for these trailers than with Fallen Order. Like I didn't even get hyped for this with Survivor, man. And so I think it was the Cal's mission trailer. I was just blown away. I don't know. It's just every single piece of new thing that we found out about this game, I was just like, this is going to be fucking great. It was great. And then obviously Force Friday came out and I obviously had to go get Cal Kestis and Trilla Sudari action figures. They are the only 2 Star Wars action figures I currently own. Actually, no, that's a lie. I own a Rey, Last Jedi one, and a Kylo Ren figure.
But only those 4.
Yeah, only those 4.
Only those
I don't really buy many Star Wars figures. But then I think it was it was before we found out what more about Fallen Order was at Celebration. There was obviously that small part in my brain, in the back of my brain. It was actually, no, wait, I'm misremembering. I think it was like shortly before the game came out. Also, this was the Fallen Order, first game I ever pre-ordered. Unsurprisingly. Did not get the pre-order bonus because I accidentally threw away the receipt, but it didn't matter because we still got the stuff anyway. Did the same thing for Survivor, and I have no idea if the pre-order bonuses are even part of the game now. Whatever. There was a small part of me because of the fact that it was like EA, and EA's reputation up to that point was not the greatest when it came to Star Wars. There was that small part of me, even though I knew that Respawn had like full control over this game. There's a small part in the back of my brain that was like, what if it sucks? I knew that wasn't going to be the case given Respawn's track record. But that small part in my brain was just like, what if it sucks? What if it's not what I think it is? And it was there. And then what else? I'm trying to remember. There's so much stuff I had. Oh, I should have bet money on this in Vegas because this would have been the easiest thing ever. I remember shortly after the trailer and the panel and that Fallen Order panel, I still watch that. It's phenomenal. I'm so mad we didn't get a Survivor panel at Celebration. I'm still miffed about that, man. But one of the predictions I had was Darth Vader's going to show up.
Oh yeah, I feel like there was smart money on that, and actually that brings me to another like thing I wanted to point out, which was like just like the safety of this game. or really the lack thereof, in my opinion, because that was something I thought of before this game. Is like the I think I remember listening to your review of it, Alex, and I feel like you had a similar opinion where like I remember you saying like, oh, I didn't expect this game to be as like in depth as it was, and like for me that translated to I didn't expect this like, and even afterwards I didn't expect this game to take as many risks as it did. Like I didn't realize until like when we were watching this a few weeks ago how big of a swing Dathomir was. Like they did not have to go there for the third planet because it's so mysterious, and it could have been completely like isolating to newer fans and stuff like that, but they did. So what was your experience just generally with the lead up to the game, and how did you see the game like swing for the fences and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I would say that my build up to the game was a lot more reserved than Connor's. Like I thought it was going to be good. I thought it was going to be a lot of fun and enjoyable, but I just wasn't expecting that level of story detail, really. I thought it would be a fun story, but I didn't expect to latch onto the characters as hard as I did. That I didn't play it in one sitting, but it was pretty damn close. Like I was lucky enough to get early access to it. I think like 2 days before it came out, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to be able to finish the game before I get a review out, but I can at least get a good handle on it. And so I sat down the evening that I got it, played it, and then played until like 4 a.m. because I was just having so much fun and I was so into the story. I think I stopped after my second trip to Zepho, and then I basically just took a nap, woke back up, and then finished the game.
Wait, so does that mean you Ordo Eris and then did Ordo Eris? Like you fell asleep, then you reawakened, and then you got knocked out on Zepho, then reawakened, like both in real life and in the game.
Again, like in my second playthrough, I was like, I'm probably not going to beat this, but then it just keeps on building and building and doing cooler and cooler things, like going to Ilum and remaking your lightsaber, the Order 66 stuff, everything on Dathomir. You talking about how that didn't have to be the last planet. I would argue that it kind of did, only because of Marin, and I think it was so smart to...
Oh, I didn't mean like for the story, like in a sense. I think it makes complete thematic sense. I just mean they didn't have to like go to such like an unknown and uncharted planet as Dathomir.
Yeah, and well, I mean, I think even Marin could have been encountered on another planet or something, but I love so much the parallel of another survivor that had their order killed off. It's so good, and I wasn't expecting that level of storytelling from that
and
team.
for it to be a Night Sister.
And now, like, as it builds and it's a romance between the two of them, it's very much like a light side, dark side, but they're finding the balance between themselves. It's so good. I don't consider myself much of a shipper, but for Cal and Marin, I ship them so hard.
Yeah, I think I remember near the end of Dathomir, Marin saying, Jedi and what did she say? She said, Jedi and Night Sisters don't usually travel together. Yeah. What about two survivors?
Yeah, but survivors.
Survivors.
I was like, yes.
That was one of those moments where I was just like, come with us, please come with us. And she was like, I will join you. Like, yes.
But survivors stare straight into camera. We adapt.
So the line, we go on now.
We roll credits.
Yep. So yeah, I wish I bet on Vader showing up, because like for me, when it came to that, I was like, oh yeah, new Jedi set during the dark times. We got Inquisitors. I'm like, Vader showing up in this game. There's no way.
Vader was the smart money. I will say that I think that the way they brought Vader in speaks to something that Fallen Order just does great as a game, which is, again, I think I've heard you talk about this, Alex, but like how it avoids like some of the pitfalls that other Star Wars games have fallen into. Specifically, and I love these games, or I love the first game. Sorry, I liked the first game. live self-editing with that one. Specifically, I'm thinking about the Force Unleashed games, where, you know, Galen, we can get into my thoughts and others' thoughts about Galen Merrick another time, but like Galen fights Vader like quite a few times in those games. He defeats him at various points. Vader enters the room, and you cannot do a single hit of damage to him. The goal of that level is not to beat Vader. The goal of that level is to get the hell out of there, because Vader is not and will not be in any circumstance at this time someone you can defeat.
It's kind of the game saying, you know, we've played around with the Ninth Sister, you know, all these different Inquisitors. This is what a real Sith Lord can do. Just so we're clear. Yeah. It's an amazing moment.
But I like this specifically, like, that it's not like indulging like the Star Wars video game power fantasy sort of thing. Like we have Battlefront 2 for stuff like that, and that is,
we have power, but we don't have that much power.
Yeah, I
not
think
yet, at least.
One of the things that really sets Jedi Fallen Order apart from me in the pantheon of Star Wars video games is the care and intention that this game employs, you know, when approaching especially characters like Vader, the way that they show power and violence being used. And I'll admit I was very dismissive of this game for a long time. You know, I'm not the hugest gamer. Star Wars video games definitely not the part of Star Wars I'm plugged into the most, but when I find, I'll take the L, Connor.
No, I was saying the plugged into. That was funny.
Oh.
Yeah.
No pun intended, but I'm glad you caught it. I mean, what a treat this game is. What a delight it is. I was just completely unprepared for just how much heart this game has, you know, how much care it takes with all elements of the story. You know, I mean, and like I was saying, that's really what sets it apart, is there's a real sense of, in the fighting, in the use of force powers, you know, the way that Cal develops his techniques and goes through the rediscovery process. I really felt a sense that I hadn't felt with many video games before, that everything was done super intentionally, which I enjoyed a lot.
There's a real humanness to it with that. And like, that's the other thing. I might be Mandela affecting myself into this. Actually, not just gaslighting myself. I swear that there is some interview out there, or like just some short snippet that like someone interviewed some of the developers just on the floor at Celebration or some other game interview, where the two guys were saying like, oh yeah, you know, we're still going through the game, still tweaking the final stages and everything. And someone asked them about the meditation points. And I want to say the quote was, we're still trying to figure out a narrative purpose for them. I could have sworn that happened. I still swear that it happened, and I can't find it. Because let me tell you, the fact that they had this obvious gameplay mechanic be like, yeah, we're going to have it serve some sort of narrative purpose in some way. I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And the fact that the meditation points served that purpose with the healing of Cal's connection to the Force was just, I still can't get over it to this day. It's fucking
they did
phenomenal.
Such a good job of taking gameplay mechanics that just have to be in video games, and you know, not everything works 1-to-1 in Fallen Order. Like running around and killing animals, like that's a
way too much animal killing in this game.
It's a little less.
Yeah,
but it's a little lessened in survival.
For the most part, I think they did a really, really great job of finding at least how the game mechanics of the Force work with the overall Star Wars story, and that's what I really appreciate.
Yep, I agree. It's just,
I really liked.
It was game design on a thought-provoking level that we hadn't really seen in Star Wars, and this is not to completely bash other Star Wars video games.
I'm gonna shout out Alex's interview with Aaron Contreras and, oh god, what's the audio director's name? Fuck. I want to say it's Nick Levere's or something. I can't remember. But yeah, check out Alex Damon's interview with Aaron Contreras. Celebration, right?
It was at EA Play, I think.
That's what it was. Yeah, at EA Play, he got to interview them, ask them a few questions. And one of the questions, I specifically remember this, was Aaron Contreras. You asked Aaron about like theories about who the ninth sister is, what her identity is. And Aaron Contreras just flat out told us the truth. And this is where I thought, like, he's not telling the truth here. There's no fucking way. He said, like, oh, I can reveal this because, you know, it was in an EA document that the second sister is an entirely original character. And then he said, but the theories that it could be Barisafe are very good. They are very good theories. And I'm like, there's no way.
I mean, he surprised me when, but first of all, like, I ran through the questions I had and I was like, it's okay if I can't ask that. And he was like, no, ask it. And I was like, oh, all right. So then I asked it and he was just like, I was like, is it possible the second sister could be Barisafe? And he was just like, no. And he was like, and the reason he wanted to specifically say no is because the theories surrounding it make sense. It's a decent theory, but they don't want to get people's hopes up.
Yeah,
it is not the case. It's a new character, and I thought that was smart to just be like,
that was smart because I thought he was just
character. It's not.
I just kept thinking.
I'm now just thinking about Barris, and I'm just thinking about that meme that was popular on the internet. I feel like this was like a year ago, which was like, I think I might have forgotten about something. If you forgot about it, then it's probably no big deal. And then it's just Barris standing outside.
Yeah.
Like everyone in every story has forgotten about Barris, even though Dave was like, yeah, we're going to use her. It just haven't. That would have been I will say that would have been the ultimate flex from Dave in Ahsoka, which absolutely they had too much to do with Ahsoka. But if like one of the characters was somehow revealed to be Barris, and Dave was like, I've been keeping it in here for the entire time, just like with the trading cards, that would have been like, that would have been universe level Dave, not just galaxy level Dave.
What else? Oh, I wasn't able to get the game for I wasn't able to play it until Thanksgiving break because I was at college. I didn't have my PS4 with me. So when it came to spoilers for me, I was so eager to find out some stuff that I just went on the Star Wars League subreddit. And the only things I knew, I was like, who the fuck is the second sister? I'm like, second sister, original character, cool, got it. I think I also knew that Cal's master was a Lasat, but I basically forgot about it. So when it like happened again, I was like, oh shit. And there are times I think about that and I'm like, that's so fucking cool. What else? I think that was
I just realized, holy crap. I don't know why this didn't click with me, that Jaro died as part of a genocide, and then his species was shortly thereafter extinguished as a part of an entirely different, but by the same people genocide. Holy crap. That was a bad year for the Lasat.
Thanks for that, Eli. I didn't need to know that. But like, yeah, Cal just kind of became one of my favorite characters because of his story. And he was my favorite character for the longest time until, I do. I'm an idiot. Yeah, until she came into view, Keeve Trennis. Yeah, it's the story. The story is the main reason I kept replaying the game so much. It wasn't even the gameplay. I thought the gameplay was pretty good. The story, phenomenal. Like Kashyyyk, favorite planet in all of Star Wars because of this game. That return trip to Kashyyyk.
It's really fun to climb that tree.
Yeah. And just the fact that, like, to me at least, Cal really, he fully reconnects to the Force on Kashyyyk, which to me implies that, like, learning about the spirituality of the Wookiees and everything, and Kashyyyk and sort of reattuning himself to the Force there, it sort of helped not fasten but strengthen his connection, and that's why Kashyyyk was the last planet. that he connected to, and just, seeing a new area. My whole thing with Star Wars is I always like seeing new areas of old familiar planets.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
really happy Fallen Order really did that with
They really
Dathomir
went
and
into
Kashyyyk.
Yeah, I think Dathomir, at least for me, was more impressive in that way than impressed me more in that way than Kashyyyk did specifically. Where
because we didn't know about Dathomir at that point.
We knew next to nothing about Dathomir, and it was really interesting to see those new perspectives. I will ask both of you this question, but I'll throw it to Alex first. This is a question we usually ask each other in our retrospectives, but as I know you've played this game so many times, is there anything you've noticed on a second or third playthrough of this game that you didn't catch on the first one that really stood out to you?
I'm sure there is, but I might have to run through my head. Probably just stuff, paying more attention to the story of the Zepho. I think the first time I played through it, I was more just like, what's going on going through these tombs? I don't think I was paying as much attention to the 3 sages. Is that what they call them?
Yeah,
the 3 Zepho sages.
Tracking the fall of the Zepho and its parallels with Cal's journey into, especially going into Survivor, they act as kind of a cautionary tale. Yeah. I think a lot of that went over my head in the first playthrough. I don't really talk about it in my review for the game, but I think it's a significant part of the story as well.
I will say that I'm with you there. I didn't actually catch most of the stuff about the Zepho until this season when we were watching. I was very bored by the Zepho stuff until I really started focusing on it this time. I'm like, oh, wait.
It's funny, I wasn't bored by it. I was enthralled, but I just all of the thematic parts of it went over my head.
I guess I wasn't bored exactly. It was just a lot of the thematic parts went over my head. And then recently I was looking at something on Wikipedia when we saw Kujit's name pop up in Ahsoka on that one background wall. And then I realized, wait, there are 3 of them. There are 3 Zepho sages. One studies the balance of the life wind, which is the living force. One of them commits human sacrifices, and then the other one still has his followers demand stuff from him, get stuff for him, but is not an openly malicious person. A light side, a dark side, and a one in the. Oh no! God damn it! It's Mortis again.
Yeah, I mean, Eli definitely has more. I'm comfortable and confident saying that I have the least experience with Jedi Fallen Order of anyone here, probably by a wide margin. Definitely by a wide margin. But Eli, you were, during our reviews and our discussions, you were like, oh yeah, the Zepho, it's all about, it's a metaphor for the Jedi and the same mistakes that the Jedi make, and the father, son. I was like, oh my gosh, I missed so much watching this for the first time, because it's really not apparent, when I'm so focused on Cal, Trilla, the Inquisitors, really the primary story at hand to really get what's going on with the Zepho. But there is a lot of interesting stuff going on with the Zepho. That's for sure.
Really forgot how much I wrote about this game on Twitter. Holy shit. I'm going through my I remember I compiled all my thoughts into one thread, and I just completely forgot about it. I'm just going through it.
It's a macro thread.
Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I wrote about some stuff that I'm like, how the fuck did I write this?
Challenging Alden Diaz there for most threads written.
Basically, yeah. I should count these. No, but the thing I love about, so I've talked about it so many times, but my favorite sequence, A, Kashyyyk is my favorite planet because of Fallen Order, because of that return trip. B, Cal Kestis versus the Ninth Sister, who I want to say on record did not think was dead. I thought her and Malicos were not dead at the end of Fallen Order. I was like, they're
even though they both should have been.
Whatever. I was like,
I mean, Malicos, I don't know how you survive being buried alive.
Yeah.
He's a fucking dark sider. They'll do some bullshit.
No, look, Malicos was killed not by the rocks or by by Marin's Night Sister magic. Malicos was killed by Dave Filoni writing a version of him that is better and more interesting in his own show.
Get out of here, Eli. Whatever. They're both cool in their own way. They're both cool in their own way.
I'm sorry that
Anyway,
Balin is exponentially cooler than Taron Malicos.
whatever. Anyway, the Cal and Ninth Sister fight atop the origin tree is my favorite duel in all of Star Wars because of the fact that like it serves as this really good martial test for Cal and his abilities up to that point. The fact that he's fully reconnected, the fact that he's like, all right, man, let's go. I can take her on. And he does, cuts off the hand. Him dismembering her hand was one of the dopest things ever in Star Wars. I fucking lost it. That was great. Yeah. The fact that it was fought atop the origin tree, the spiritual center of Kashyyyk for the Wookiees, phenomenal choice. Can't write enough about it.
It all clicks.
It just clicks.
All clicks. Specifically, I love the face that and I will like this is one of my things about this game. And Jacob, I know we talked about this a little bit, which is like the animation specifically for Cal's face sometimes can leave a little bit, I feel like, of a lack of expression sometimes. And that's not really due to like Cameron Monaghan or anything. I think that's just like due to the technology mocap they were working with. But Cal's face after he force pushes Ninth through that tree, when he says to BD, I just took down an Inquisitor. Perfect.
Even just his reaction to dismembering her. To chopping off her, he's like, wait, what?
Yeah. I couldn't have just done that. There is no way I just did that.
Yeah. But yeah, my favorite sequence in that whole game is the Dathomir Ilum Dathomir sequence. You know, that the fact that it's like, he goes to Dathomir, basically gets his ass kind of kicked, as weakened by that, obviously. Like, if you like, that's pretty easy to tell.
Gets
like
his ass kicked by himself.
Yeah,
basically, by his own,
goes to the door, feels nothing, reconnect, goes to the meditation point, relives Order 66, which that was brutal.
Dathomir, Ilum, Dathomir, Bogano, Nur is all like my mouth was just open, jaw on the floor the rest of that game. It's so good.
Yeah.
Jacob and I, we divide this up mostly in 40-minute chunks. The last chunk was an hour. But the last two we did, I described it as that I sleep real shit meme. Where the first 2 hours, don't get me wrong, it's good. I like it a lot. Is I sleep. And then the last hour and 40 minutes, which is basically from the beginning of Cal's duel with Ninth to the end, is just like real shit over and over and over again. It's just hitting all the beats constantly over and over again. And I think something that like I'm now remembering, I was talking about this, I believe this was 2 episodes ago, that there's that line where did y'all ever imagine after we saw this in literally one episode of Star Wars: The Clone Wars that there's that soap opera going on between Marin and Malicos, and then Taron goes, "Your sisters are dead," and Tina Ivlev in a fantastic performance. I mean, I love her in both games, but this is one of the best deliveries of any line ever. Yes, their graves are all around you. And then she starts bringing them back to life with her magical crystal ball. That was one of the most batshit metal moments of that game that I was just like, what the hell is happening here?
For me, the most not batshit metal moment, but like a moment I just for some reason didn't expect was after Order 66 happens and it cuts to Cal, like, obviously frazzled by reliving it, and then just this dark apparition of Jareth T'Pol.
Oh yeah,
shows up. You gotta fight him, and then there's that whole scene of "You Are No Jedi," which is just, I don't know. I've talked about like what my favorite scene is. I still don't know at this point. I'm pretty sure it's just either the "You Are No Jedi" scene and then just the return scene on Dathomir. Like those are just two of my favorites. Like they're so good.
Yeah.
And then obviously we got to talk about it. BD1, Ilum.
Yeah.
Come on. I didn't know what the heck was happening with all these like holo records and everything. I really didn't understand it until probably my third playthrough. Like, I'm not sure what the whole thing is. And then I was like, oh, he's unlocking the memories. Wow.
Alongside Cal. Yeah, that is something that that is another one of the things that I only realized this time around. Only this time around. Yeah.
Way to just make me feel for this droid, man. Shit. God. I just that whole thing was great with Ilum because like for some reason I didn't even think of Ilum when like the saber was broken and he has to run away and he was like, oh, you got to get a new crystal. My dumbass was like, oh, where's he gonna get a new crystal? I wonder where they're going. I just didn't think of Ilum in that moment. And then and then like it goes to Ilum and I'm like, let's go Ilum. I remember Ilum specifically because I got to it in my first playthrough. And then my parents were like, hey, we're going to the movies. We're going to go see Frozen. And I'm like, I don't want to go see Frozen. I want to fucking play Star Wars.
I want to play on the frozen planet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I loved also that it was full of callbacks to
oh god, yeah.
God, with the test of courage, the melting ice and everything. The
test of strength, I think.
Yeah, test of courage is High Republic. I can't.
You're good.
Connor, Alex, you might not know I did a whole rant to Jacob about this a few episodes ago in a Galaxy. It's the Clone Wars episode is a test of strength or courage. I don't know. Why did they keep naming these goddamn Star Wars things so similarly?
Yeah, Eli has opined about this at length, and I do agree.
The Reckoning versus the Reckoning. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I think
Shadow Warrior versus also Shadow Warrior.
Nice. I think the thing I like about Cal's journey a lot is that like when you look at it just on a sort of bird's eye view level, it's very, pretty simple. It's very like typical of a Jedi. Like, oh yeah, goes from Padawan to Knight, faces some trials, gets a Kyber crystal. It's pretty typical stuff. But it's like the logistics of what actually happens for Cal, I think, is very unique. And that's what makes his story so compelling and unique. It's like, oh yeah, your trial? Yeah, fuck you. You're going to face a dark half version of your master and get your crystal broken. And then you're going to get a crystal. And then that crystal's going to be like, fuck you, and break in half. And then you're going to get a split saber, which that shit was so insane.
If I could change one thing about the game, I do think that it would be that you can't get the double blade until then. Just because I think that would have been such an amazing, like, oh my god moment.
That's literally fair. Something that Jacob said last episode, and I would actually, the thing I would change in terms of lightsabers would be that I would probably add that third stance of the dual blades when you get that, and not just leave it as a special attack.
I think that was the plan.
Yeah.
Like they said that they wanted that to be a full new stance, which then that would have felt good and important. But they just didn't have enough time, so they made it a special move.
Yeah, I get that. I'm now just thinking about it. For me, that's actually the thing about Fallen Order for me is that every time I get to think about Fallen Order, I end up automatically thinking about Survivor because no offense to Fallen Order at all. I love
Survivor's gameplay blows it out of the water. There's no doubt. If you gave me Survivor's gameplay with Fallen Order's story, it's over. It's done.
We have basically the same thoughts. That I'm like, Survivor's the better game, but Fallen Order just I think surprised me so much with how great the story was. I think I prefer it as a story.
Yeah, it's simple and just so effective.
I think this is a controversial take, but for me, I don't know what it was. The story of Survivor just connected so damn much to me that like it feels like Fallen Order is Fallen Order versus Survivor. Honestly, for me, it's Bad Batch season 1 versus Bad Batch season 2. There's nothing wrong with the first season or the first game. Yeah. It's just that the sequel takes what we have for me and just like absolutely bumps it up to another level.
You just get more.
We won't talk about our guy Boda Kuna of Fuck Boda Kuna fame. because screw that guy. The number of
I got
times
spoiled on that.
So I managed to keep that from Jacob for a surprisingly
Fucking
long amount of
YouTube.
time.
I should stop going through YouTube. All I did was I need to find out how to get past this freaking wall or whatever. And I couldn't figure it out. And then YouTube was like, hey, guess what? Fuck you. You're gonna get the biggest spoiler of the game.
Yeah, it's like those freaking videos. There was one freaking gameplay video on YouTube that I saw that had Darth Vader in the thumbnail for Fallen Order. It's just like, come on.
Yeah.
Really?
Like, really? Yeah.
Vader?
But
the big surprise at the end of the game.
To go back to your point, Alex, I am pretty much in the same boat with you about like, oh, he should get the double blade at Ilum narratively. But like I also can understand why it's Kashyyyk, because it's like, oh, he gets this this
it's
blade.
Not a solid choice. That's what Jared was talking with us about a few episodes ago. It's not, you don't have to get it at Kashyyyk.
Narratively,
you can Pagano as well, or Dathomir.
Well, I know, but like
I was gonna say
narratively, yeah. Narratively, that's where the game forces you. I've tried it many times to get past that fucking workbench. I'm like, maybe if I do this, and nope, right to the cutscene. That's where you get it narratively. Yep. And the thing I think, this is my just interpretation of it, is like, broken saber, broken man. He fixes the saber. He's now not broken anymore. He fully reconnected to the Force. He fully reconnected his saber. He's a good, confident ginger Jedi, and then he faces off against an Inquisitor and defeats her. So this man is on top of the fucking world. And then Dathomir completely humbles him.
That's true.
And so
that is
like that's where my interpretation of it. But at the same time, dude, Ilum would have been fucking sick.
I think Ilum in my mind
you get this saber, it's broken, then you fix it. Not only double bladed, but then you do the split. It would have been that's where he heals himself.
I want to close.
That would have been perfect. Also,
I want to close by asking both of you about a part of this game that I wasn't like. Again, I do love this game, but there was one part that just generally confused me and still confused me over and over again. I'm genuinely curious to hear both of your thoughts on this. I'll go to Alex first. What are your thoughts on Ordo Eris? Should it have been there?
On what?
Ordo Eris, the prison sequence.
The arena.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's my
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Grease's little subplot. Yeah. There's your answer. That whole subplot. I like that in Survivor you get to get your revenge on all those annoying bastards, because it just seems like it doesn't add a whole lot to the game. I feel like there was more surrounding Grease that we could have explored because of that, and it just kind of gets dropped by the wayside. But I like that we at least got to hunt them down for once in Survivor, because having them pop up, that the Haxian brood and all that was annoying.
Wait, okay, it's been a while since I've played Survivor. When do we hunt them down?
You can go to
Oh, okay.
Their bounty pucks and.
Oh, that's right. That's why I forgot, because I just did that mission. I just did those so freaking quickly.
Yeah, like that whole battle arena sequence. It's kind of a fun puzzle, but it does just kind of come out of nowhere, and then I feel like it's completely forgettable. And there's also just a little bit of like, you're on this, you kind of feel the limitations of the game there, because you're on this random planet and you're still fighting the same creatures. So that's what they collected for you to fight. Like they don't have a Rancor there or something like.
Fuck that Rancor. I hated that shit.
I just was wondering that, like just genuinely, because I remember I'm like, am I crazy or is this useless? No, but literally the best thing about that part of the game for me is, and unfortunately we didn't encounter it in our cutscene montage, because I know there are like several different bounty hunters that can capture you and take you to Ordo Eris. but one of them has maybe the funniest name for me in the history of Star Wars, and that is my boy, Bagonk.
Bagonk is a king.
Bagonk. Like, what else do you need to say? His name is Bagonk.
I do really like the Haxian Brood, just character names across the board. They're very fun.
Oh yeah, like what's his face? Null Chance. There's one of them. Like, is there? Null Chance. I know. The Haxian Brood has some great names. I will give them this. Sork Tormo, of course.
Yep, Sork.
Bing, Blorp, Brunzi, Sir Chogs.
Sir Chogs, my God.
Sir Chogs. Oh my God, it sounds like a parody name.
Just every ridiculous
All
name
of
they
these
could
sound.
think of.
All of these sound
my
like
gosh.
shitposting names. All of them sound like shitposting.
They sound like Glup Shido names.
But
Yeah.
none
They
of
sound
them,
like
none of them compare to the king himself, Rick the door technician.
Rick, my guy.
Listen,
Rick,
man, that was the funniest shit ever. I just
that-
didn't know what to expect.
That's something else I think Survivor did well, was just having a little bit more fun with Star Wars as a video game. I feel like Fallen Order, they were like, we're going to take this very seriously.
Yeah.
And
Although, to your point, I'm going to say a name right now that has caused many to tremble in their boots, and was the Rick the Door Technician before Rick the Door Technician, and that is our friend Ogdo Bogdo.
So here's the thing with Ogdo Bogdo for me. So the first time I played the game, I went on story mode because like I didn't know what the difficulty meter would be, like if I go from story to like Padawan or Knight or whatever. So I started on story mode, and so my first time through with Ogdo Bogdo, it was pretty easy. And then like as I went up in difficulty and kept fighting and everything, Ogdo Bogdo I didn't think was really that hard. Son of Ogdo, spawn of Ogdo, yeah, fuck that guy. I hated that shit so much.
So Jacob, it occurs to me because I don't think have you played. I don't think you probably know what we're talking about with Ogdo Bogdo because he didn't appear in the cutscenes. I don't think
he's a froggy boy. He is a big froggy boy.
Who may have. I did hear about a streamer who did spend, I think it was 18 hours trying to beat Spawn of Ogdo, and that was a minor news story at some point.
Is a riff
on the most difficult
Ogdo
mode.
Bogdo, who's this lizard on Bogano that you face when you don't really have that many force powers yet.
Yeah.
So you're not really that powerful yet, and he's unreasonably difficult. Like I just remember like trying to face him like on one of my playthroughs and it being like, am I supposed to be able to win this?
I have to act cool about him because on my first Grandmaster difficulty live stream, people were like, go fight Ogdo right at the start. And I was like, fine. And I did it and I beat him without taking any damage. I don't know how it happened. Like it's insane. And the video's still up, but I'm like, that's the coolest thing I've ever done in a video game and will ever do. I don't know how.
That's all. Yep.
That is hats off to that one. Of course, unfortunately, like I've watched a few of those streams of you and Molly playing through, and of course, the one thing I take away, I'm so sorry to Molly for this, is the one where she plays her first playthrough and immediately glitches through the platform. Like
she didn't glitch through; she walked off.
She walked off the platform without
she just
doing
nice.
Like in the opening seconds of the game, she fell off something.
Oh yeah, Braca, super cool.
Oh yeah, Braca's awesome.
That,
the
Who
is great.
Like the fact that it opens with the Who, I just phenomenal.
Oh yeah, that song, slaps.
Sugana Senna, yeah, right.
That's
a perfect opener.
We've been. I gotta say,
and Prof, my God, Prof. Like, come on, who can't? Like that guy's great. I love that guy.
Yeah. What a game! What am I gonna say? There was this is what I was gonna say. In-universe music has been doing great over the last few years for Star Wars. We got the Sugana Senna. We got
all the stuff from Survivor.
All the stuff from Survivor. We got the songs that Zeb plays at the end of season 2 of Rebels. We have Igya Ka from Ahsoka. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, we have. I mean, I guess if you want to count this as music, which I think I might. We could count the Time Grappler in Andor. who drums and then beats stormtroopers with the mallets.
Yeah,
because that is something that exists.
Oh, Eli, just to go back to your question about Ordo Eris.
Yeah.
I can't really remember my first time, what I thought of it first time through, other than like,
don't worry, most of us probably.
No, I mean, because like for me, it was like, oh, is Cal dead? Because like when the screen comes up respawn, I'm like, is he dead? Like, what are we doing? And so, you know, he isn't. BD's gone, and you gotta go rescue him and everything. And the thing I really like is just that really small character moment where like you hear the Who again, and there's that little line of dialogue Cal says where he's like, "Hey, I know these guys," and I'm like, "Hell yeah, brother!" The arena fight I thought was cool. You know, the fact that like Grease has these run-ins with these type of people is not surprising, and I like this and the scene where Grease sort of consoles Cal and is like, "Hey, man, I'm sorry I fucked up and almost got you killed." And that whole thing, that was a cool scene. I thought very underrated in my mind. But yeah, I thought it was all right. You know, it's not terrible, I think, but you know, I get why some people aren't big into it.
It's just kind of like something that I forget about every time I play through it, and then you get captured. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to do this.
It is a sequence that to me is just incredibly there. It just kind of happens.
It's incredibly there.
Like it just kind of happens, and that's all. But I was just like, I'm like, there's got to be more to this, and then I was looking up. I'm like, no, there is really not more to this. Like I said, I think any final things either of you guys want to say about Fallen Order before we start to wrap this thing up?
If we're moving towards wrapping up, there is one thing that I wanna toss over to you guys, Alex and Connor. Something that really struck me about the game and that I've been thinking about a lot is the way that the Darksiders, the Inquisitors, are portrayed. We get to see such a different side of them. You know, the Ninth Sister during her duels with Cal, talking about how she and the other Inquisitors cracked. You know, it was really interesting to me and very humanizing to see Trilla and the Ninth Sister, especially, you know, really being open about the pain,
those struggles,
the humiliation of falling, and seeing what that experience is like, of almost like they don't want to be there, but that it's just too late, you know. And it's very different from the way that someone like Kylo Ren comes to mind, you know, Ben Solo, you know, in episode 7, like, he's weak and foolish, I destroyed him. Like, this is totally the opposite in the way that it's portrayed, in the way that the characters kind of view their own fall. What do you guys think about that?
I really like go ahead, Connie.
Oh, okay, just real quick. That was really the one thing that surprised me in the game, and like obviously I didn't really pick up on it until like many playthroughs in, where I was like, wait a minute, this is really an interesting angle on the Inquisitors. Like, we haven't gotten this side of them ever. And so yeah, I was really surprised with how deep the writers and just the developers went into sort of not really quote unquote humanizing the Inquisitors, but more so just giving them just that tragic side to them. So I really appreciated that, because like before then we didn't really get much. They were pretty one note sort of archetypal dark side villains. So
yeah, I thought Trilla was great the way they handled her, and she was like the third quote unquote survivor of Cal, Marin, Trilla. Like they're all three from the same generation. They all three made it through Order 66, but they have gone about their survival in different ways. And Trilla was forced into her way. And so yeah, like, she doesn't like being there. I think she is a little humiliated of who she is and doesn't come out of it until it's too late at the very end. But I really dug that angle and the idea that, yeah, she's like, I've been put into this position and there's nothing I can do to break out of it, which is always like the lie that the dark side tells you. She could have come back, and she does come back, but it's so brief.
It's just too late. It is just too late.
As it so often is in Star Wars.
That's the one thing I would change, is Trilla not dying. because
I mean, me too, but like that is a very like I will say that like I understand why the story killed her off. Like I understand it. It's I feel like it's a very selfish thing of like for me, I'm like I know she shouldn't survive, but I want her to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not like any other character in any other story, Star Wars or anything else. Anyway, so anything else that either of you want to get to before we wrap this up?
There's a lot more, but I'm gonna stop. Yeah.
All right, then I'll pass this first to Connor. Where can we find stuff you do?
Sure, you can find me on Twitter at DepaBanana, Instagram ConmanJFO. I also podcast over at the Nerd Academy podcast, specifically our Star Wars show, Knights of the Nerd Republic. We talk Star Wars there. That's all that really needs to be said. And then I also co-host over at For the Republic podcast. You can find us on, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube at For the Repub Pod. Same thing with Nerd Academy podcast. Just type in Nerd Academy podcast on Google. Our site will pop up. You can find us there. All our links there. I also co-host and co-write trivia questions with that guy up in the
right here.
left. Yeah.
Diagonal stuff is tricky.
Diagonal is weird.
I
can't do directions. So I co-host and co-write questions with Eli for Star Wars in a Galaxy Epic Confrontations. You can find all of our matches over on YouTube at the Star Wars in a Galaxy podcast YouTube channel that you are listening to right now. So go check out some of our matches that we've had.
Absolutely.
They're really fun.
I will talk about EC at the end. Next match is going to debut. By the time this comes out, it will have debuted yesterday. So
you can follow our Twitter account over at In a Galaxy Trivia.
Right, yeah.
And then I did an interview with Matt Miknovitz, one of the writers of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
We'll put that on the description.
Yeah, it's on the site. It's on a site that's currently being it's currently undergoing maintenance, but there will be a way to read it. So,
all right, Alex, where can we find stuff you do?
We also talk about Star Wars on our YouTube channel that I run with my wife. It's called Star Wars Explained. All of our socials, Twitter for now, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, etc. It's all Star Wars Explain or Explained. Yeah, we're just kind of passing the time in between Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew right now, but High Republic is about to start back up with Phase 3 and the Eye of Darkness. So we'll be covering everything: books, comics, video games, you name it. If it's Star Wars.
I'm so excited to hear specifically what you guys think of like a lot of the stuff coming out. Specifically, I remember a few days ago, and I remember I was watching the Q&A on Star Wars Explained, and you seem to be pretty much as excited as as excited as I am about about Ethan Sachs's new Jango Fett comic. I'm like, hell yeah. I'm like, I was never like, I no offense to Valance Twitter, like, love you guys, love you people. I was never into Valance, but Jango Fett comic, hell yeah. I want as much backstory on that guy as we can get. Yeah. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. We'll be there at In a Galaxy Pod on all platforms. Next week on In a Galaxy, we will be doing a special episode, but that is going to be TBD. Jacob and I will figure it out, but we'll have it out by the next Friday. Yesterday, as of the time of this recording, you will have seen Jared the Dark Jedi's next match against former movie Trivia Schmoedown Star Wars competitor Sean Sullivan. Thank you so much to Sean for agreeing to do that. Thanks to Jared for always, being there for EC, and also thanks to Alden Diaz and Bren Marr for their brief appearances they made. Go check out that match. I just spoiled it. I just realized it's only been out a day at this point. Okay, never mind. But please check out that match if you have not, and stay tuned for future matches for Epic Confrontations. I think that's it. So until next time, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Always.